support you in getting this. I had no problem. They've broken this down. When I did it, they had only one level of credentialing. You had to do all of it at one time. You had to do 200 hours and 8 work samples, but now they've divided it in half. And at that time, I had to have 3 letters of support. It was no problem getting them. And then your portfolio is going to have 4 competencies. So out of those 15 competencies, you get to pick 4 that are of interest to you and may apply to the consumers that you're working with. And then there's a $100 fee that MESCA pays for, and then the completion of the DSPR. So you could stay right there at the DSP1 and be okay with it, or if you wanted to advance and go up to the DSP2, the advanced level, you would do the exact same thing. You would do 4 more competencies and build a portfolio. It's pretty much the only thing. And then you would do an additional 50 CDS lessons.
So that's the DSP2 for the registered? What?
You have registered the DSP credentialed 1 and now DSP credentialed 2.
Okay.
Yeah. They call the DSP1 the initial level, and then this one is advanced level. I don't like that they did 1, 2, and 3 on it. I wish they would have came up with a different term. When I went through it, it was actually DSPC.
DSPC?
So, yeah, just certified. because 1 and 2 were together in one clump. So if you actually look out there on the board, you're going to see DSPR and DSPC.
That reminds me of that song.
I wonder what that
That's what it was. Yeah, it was certified, but now they've changed it. And we haven't had anybody go through it and complete it on the initial level or advanced level. So when they do, I'm gonna have to figure out how to put that on the board.
Change it out there.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Put a big star by their name.
Yeah. When we get the new building, I can just have maybe a bigger wall to put it on.
When's the big building
So
coming?
there's actually a lot to it then.
Like another year out still.
Sweet.
Yeah, there's a lot, and
But
it's
it's going to be away from my house.
It seems intimidating, but you're actually, if you do it while you're,
And it's all on your own
live.
time,
It's
right?
yeah, and it's live. You know, you're pulling information about
the work you
consumers
do.
you're working with. You know, and if you're helping someone advocate for themselves by trying to find a new apartment, and you're helping them make phone calls or doing whatever, then that's what you would write up. You know, you would just kind of do a little journal of, you know, entries of, you know, I helped Billy Bob call Alaska Housing today. We returned a phone call. You know, whatever steps you take, that's what you're working on, and that's what you write up. And they have a little cheat sheet of how to write it up too, and I'll show you that here in a second. That's a bonus slide. So the third level, the requirements for the third level is that you have to complete the DSP2, which is the advanced. So you would have to do the DSPR, DSP initial, DSP advanced, and then you would do the DSP3, which would be specialization. And for that, you need additional 40 hours of training, and they have some courses that go along with that. Or it could be, you know, reading books on the topic and writing something up, like a book report. There's different areas, ways to get that. And then you need a year of employment. And then for this one, you only need 3 competencies. And those 3 competencies come out, not out of those 15, they come out of one specifically for aging or for health or for inclusion. They have their own competencies that you pick from. Actually, I don't think you pick, I think they tell you. Okay, so just in a nutshell, recertification. A DSPR is not on here, but you do not have to reapply. It's a one-time thing. The DSP1, the initial one, you have to do it every 2 years. And it's easy. You just have to show, I think it's additional 20 hours of training. And they let you count full lives. If you go to full lives training, that counts. And you can do 12-year hours as MANT and CPR and first aid. And so those additional 8 hours, if you go to full lives or go do any independent study training, all those count. So we've had a couple people who have actually renewed, and it's pretty easy. It's filling out an application, jotting down, I sign it, authorize, yeah, you completed this training, and send them another check, and they're good for another 2 years. Oh, it's right there. See, I got ahead of myself. 8 employer required, I'm sorry, 8, I had it flip-flopped. 8 could be managed CPR, and the other 12 could be like full lives. And then you just have to sign the code of ethics again. They give you multiple times to sign that code of ethics, just
Make sure
as a
it
refresher.
sticks.
Yeah, they haven't changed. We still apply. So I've been talking about the word about portfolio. Portfolio is a collection of materials that show the author's mastery of particular skills. So you got to show that proof. I think of it as kind of like show and tell at school. You know, you have to bring that poster board with all the information about your book report that you read. You know, remember that from back in school?
Oh, yeah.
I know my kids have to do it right now. And so it's that proof, you know, and then you gotta, because you just can't take someone's word. Because reviewing, this gets sent over to New York and there's someone in Boston. They're the reviewing committee, and so they don't know you. So you've got to sell yourself on paper and be able to demonstrate that you really know how to do this.
Well, I think it goes back to you've done the work and you've done the test, you've talked the talk, but can you really walk the walk?
Yeah.
It's proof that you can,
Mhm.
because you're showing that you're applying the skills you've learned to the people you work with by helping them in one of those areas that you talked about, whether it's advocacy or, you know, whatever particular area that someone you work with is working on. It's showing that you've assisted them with the skills you've learned and how to do that. So.
And I can help you with your portfolio. Okay, you're not going to be out there floundering around. It's something I've taken on with the Moving Mountains. That's part of follow-up I need to do. But your portfolio is going to have a title page, table of contents, resume, letter of recommendation, the professional commitment statement, code of ethics, work samples, release of information, and training records. Pretty simple. I mean, it looks scary, but it really is simple.
It pieces together.
So here's just an example, but I'm not going to go into too much because sometimes too much information is very overwhelming. But this is an example. So this competency is participant empowerment. So they have listed underneath there the skill statement. This is what you're trying to be able to show you can do. The direct support professional enhances the ability of the participant to lead a self-determined life by providing the supports and information necessary to build self-esteem and assertiveness and to make decisions. So that's the skill statement. That's the competency that you're trying to prove and show that, yeah, I can do this. And so on this one, there's 4 skill statements. You get to pick 2 of them. Those are how then you're going to show that you know how to do it. So maybe, like number 2, the competent DSP promotes participant partnership in the design of support services, consulting the person and involving him or her in her support process. So that, you know, would be working with a consumer of, you know, empowering them, of, you know, making sure they're making the choices that being made for them. And so you would give examples of how you supported that person. You know, maybe they wanted to attend a college class and maybe the parents were like, you know, they're not going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to follow along with it. But maybe you help empower that consumer to talk about their choices and talk with the family and talk with the team and maybe make that a reality. So that proof, how do you do that show and tell? There's different ways. You can write a journal. When I did one for advocacy, I was helping a consumer move out of one place to another place. And so I did a journal. I wrote down the date, that's the example I gave. I wrote down the date of, we called Alaska Housing on this date. You know, we drove by Alaskan Housing on this date, picked up information. This day we reviewed the information. Because it's not all going to happen in 1 or 2 days. I mean, that takes over the course of a month or 2 of trying to get that. Communication logs, you can do, we had people who did this, they did photo albums. They had one person that they were helping them learn how to cook. It was like and so they took pictures of them, you know, with the mixing bowl and following a recipe and, you know, kind of documented it that way.
Is it okay to take pictures as long
Yeah, we
as...
have a release. We have a release of information specific to this. So if you're wanting to use that consumer's name or information, we have them sign or the guardian sign. It is specifically for this purpose.
Okay.
Yeah. And if, you know, there was a couple that I used, you know, information on, and they refused to sign the release of information. So what I did was I changed Billy Bob's name to John Smith. And so I just changed everything and whited out his name in the log book that I was using. And then when I wrote up my narrative, I said, the individual I used for this work sample refused to, give consent, so I have, changed the name and any identifying information in this report. And they're okay with that too. And I had probably 50-50. I probably had 4 that gave me permission, the other 4 didn't want. But I was still able to do what I needed to do and maintain that confidentiality. So, going along with that, how do you show that competency? They give you a really cool reflective statement thing, kind of like how you have in there of why you're in this field. They give you one here too. So if you go through and just answer these questions, the title of your work sample, describe any challenges, issues, describe your plan for addressing these challenges, issue or goal, identify the steps you actually took to complete this work sample, describe the outcome of your results, describe how the skill standards were shown, and briefly describe what you learned about completing this work sample. And that will end up being like a page or 2, depending how wordy you are. I love reading over these, and the best part I love reading was that last one. Describe what you learned about completing this work sample. Because you yourself are going to grow and develop while you're going through this and helping someone. You'll look at things a little differently. It's pretty cool. And I'll help you with that too. I can help you wordsmith and, do spell check and all that stuff. So examples of what's a good work sample and what's a bad one. So we're talking about, doing a journal. If you're advocating, helping with that. A good example would be having multiple entries. How I said, well, on this day we did this, on this day we did that. A bad one or insufficient one would be if you just have one entry. It's okay. Turn in your homework, you do it a little bit or you do it a lot. It makes a difference on what it is. I am just hot.
It's warm in here.
I don't have a t-shirt on. I need to take this off. A reflective statement. This is an example of one. So they're just talking about how they decided to make a picture book to take out with the individual they were working with.
It's unlocked.
How was it? And talking about the mushers and what, how he used the book and because the consumer, does not read. So some of the things were pictures that they used in there. Found that the consumer not only used the book to assist himself in communication with others and me, but he really enjoyed looking at the pictures and going through the book. It seemed to bring him great pleasure. So that's just an example. That's just like a fourth of what that statement was. Bonus slide.
The only thing I'm getting confused on is where is this journal? Which list does this journal go into?
There's a list of examples of what you can do.
Like, what is the journal part for? Like, I'm just confused on
When you're wanting to do the credentialing
is
piece.
it in the initial DSP part?
Right here. Nope. This is for the
Oh, sorry.
This is for the DSP 1 or DSP 2. So when you do your 4 work samples and you pick your 4 competencies, you need your proof. You need your show and tell to go with it. Your supporting documents.
How you used what you learned and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And you have different ways to do it. And the easiest, seemed to be either a photo book. Like with one that I did a communication one. And we made a communication board. Because they weren't able to verbally communicate. It was more pointing. And so we cut out pictures and put it on this communication board. And that's what then I attached with my report, I guess if you want to say, this is what we made, this is how we made it, and this is how it improved his communication, and how it helped him out. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I just
A
didn't
tool.
know where it
Yeah.
went into.
It's okay. It all makes sense in my head because since 2009,
Yeah,
been
the
working on
list.
it, but trying to convey it a little different. So like this is an example of the work example. So the narrative is what was written up about him and how she learned it, and this was a page from his book. That's what she attached to show.
Oh,
Yeah,
neat.
this is what I did. I'm not just lying about it and whatever. This is what I really did. So competency profiles, description of how direct support work